Tonight on America, the Conversation, Andrew and Tim discuss whether or not my dear friend Bruce Wayne is a fascist. How could Bruce be a fascist? It's not like spying on a city-sized population and dehumanizing the mentally ill is fascistic. What? Those are two key points of fascism. Well, then I might need to have a talk with my friend Bruce, and I will do so tonight after I watch America, the Conversation. Hello and welcome to America the Conversation. I am one of your hosts, Tim Philippi, and with me, as always, is the one and only Andrew Turner. How are you doing, man?
I am vengeance.
Oh,
are you the knight?
Oh, you are the knight. Oh, that's good.
I'm Batman.
Oh, great. Another fascist. So that's what we're talking about today. We're doing kind of a fun one and kind of not necessarily a series, but we're, you know, Andrew and I at this point, if you don't, hi, I'm Tim. That's Andrew. We're nerds. We play lots of D&D and we, what do you want? Nerd, dork. Dork was such a dumb one. Geek also.
I listen to podcasts. Oh, that's what you sound like right now, audience member.
We're talking about Batman and whether or not he's a fascist. And the next episode we're in this series, it's not a series, it's just a thought exercise. Comic books and the false promotion of billionaires and as these shining heroes. But today, Batman, the one and only billionaire who... who did Batman? No, yeah, Batman was first and then Iron Man. Iron Man copied Batman. The less douchey Tony Stark. But is he a fascist? That's what I can't figure out. I'm sure Andrew has a better idea than I do, but you know, you've got the Dark Knight where he made that whole thing where he could spy on everybody but it was to find the Joker, and then he had it destroyed. He spies on people all the time. He beats the shit out of low-level criminals, which in itself is already problematic.
Mentally
going
ill.
After the mentally ill. He beats up the mentally ill. Harvey Dent. The Crocodile Man is a heroin addict and mentally ill. The Joker. Killer Croc is Sandman also just sad that he doesn't have his kids anymore. Or no, that might be that's Spider-Man. Never mind.
Yeah, Sandman is Spider-Man.
No, Clayface. Clayface is mentally ill. And Poison Ivy is mentally ill.
Clayface is an actor. Yeah, the Mafia. I mean, Batman the Animated Series really did a number on like humanizing the villains of the Batman Rose Gallery.
Yes, they did. That was fantastic.
And Mr. Freeze was always a joke before that. Clayface was always a joke, and now they're like truly tragic characters.
Man, like
Poison
Mr.
Ivy
Freeze, Sub-Zero, really humanized him, and that episode of Batman Beyond too, when he gets brought back.
Well, and Poison Ivy has the whole like Killmonger problem where I'm like, I agree with her. She's just pretty violent about it.
Like, you're just a terterrorist. And
I agree with you. but you are being kind of a terrorist right now.
So don't do that. Because like straight up in the Harley Quinn show, she full on destroys Gotham, and like after she accesses the green. We're going to get in a lot of stuff that you probably should just watch. So that if you're not a Batman fan, enjoy this, maybe learn some stuff. But, you know, we've pretty much consumed absolutely and read absolutely every bit of it. At least I have. But yeah, him being a fascist. You told me once that it's like he's a necessary fascist, or like his brand is necessary for Gotham in that way. Like we're two different universes, right? Like
that's what I was saying. I let me qualify that. I don't think Batman is a fascist in the DC universe. No, I think if we applied him to our universe, he would be. In the DC universe, you know, like aliens invade every other week, and like
Joker's killing 600 audience members of Conan O'Brien.
Batman is a necessary force in the world that they live in. Now, the problem is like that propaganda does like rub off on a lot of young people, which is like, it's good to be a billionaire. Like it is ethical to be a billionaire. It's ethical to be a vigilante. Like it is ethical to use your money on pet projects where you personally save the world. And that doesn't translate into the real world. Like no billionaire that says they're doing that is actually helping everyone.
But does it even translate into theirs? Because he could be using his wealth to improve Gotham. He's as rich as Lex Luthor. Him and Lex are the two richest people in that universe, except for maybe Ra's al Ghul.
To speak to that, I think that comics reflect the ideology of the times and the people that they're in. And as we were talking about and kind of some behind the scenes stuff, like I think that when we were growing up, the idea of a billionaire or millionaire wasn't as maligned and wasn't as common. Like it was such a rarity to see a billionaire that it wasn't as audacious, to nobody was thinking about like how much money that actually was, like while people are starving, because it was something that was like fantastical just as much as dressing up in a cowl and fucking fighting criminals.
Yeah.
So I mean, like they've obviously done some propaganda rehashing on Batman lately. Like the latest, the Batman is about him realizing that probably beating up mentally ill people on the street isn't
in comic
working out well.
Universe. Yeah.
No. I mean, the latest movie, The Batman, like it ends with
the
Robert
Batman
Pattinson's
with
characters. It ends with him
Robert
like
Pattinson,
being a savior, like instead of being this force of fear, like he's lifting people up and like helping out the cops and helping out the firefighters and looking up with this bright day, Batman rarely seen in like brightness or in the daylight. Right, and he realized he has to be something bigger than just a vigilante that inspires fear. He has to be a symbol for the people. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean like, and like they've made it since the animated series. They've made it big on that he gives away most of his money to charity, and like he is investing in the community in Gotham and providing public transit. Like,
was his dad always a doctor?
His dad
that's another
was
thing.
Thomas Wayne was a doctor. Yes,
always?
In most continuities.
Okay.
Most continuities. I mean, like he in a lot of continuities, he worked with the mob, like whether he was forced to or chose to.
The mob. Yeah, he fixed up
the Falcones.
Falcone when he got shot. I think that's in. Is that in the movie? Is that in the Batman?
That's in the latest The Batman. Yeah.
Okay, that is in there. Okay, yeah.
But like, it's not canon in like the Nolan trilogy. They don't.
No. Well, the Nolan
much,
is separate from literally just. I mean, it's not even a superhero movie.
Well,
really.
DC doesn't know how to fucking unite their shit. Like Marvel
well,
does.
they
So it
maybe
doesn't
now
matter.
with
They're all
Tim Gunn,
separate
not Tim Gunn, James Gunn. I say James Gunn.
Yeah,
Tim Gunn would be a really cool
I would
addition.
like to see the Tim Gunn DC universe. To be fair, it sounds
Sashay away,
very bright
Joker.
and fun.
Sashay away.
Yeah.
No, wait, that's RuPaul. Sorry. Designers make it work. That's what he does.
I am the night. That sounds great.
God.
We got to do Tim Gunn's DC universe as a sketch. Actually,
that would be really funny. Okay, look forward to that.
Copyright audience.
It's ours. James Gunn is ours. Tim Gunn is ours. We own those men, I think.
We own them now. Yeah, I think
SAG-AFTRA is going to come after us for that.
Does Batman believe in like a white ethno state?
No,
like that's nationalist.
No, absolutely
so technically,
not.
he's not a fascist. Like technically, he's just a capitalist billionaire who is a conservative wet dream.
That's an ideology.
There's a
fascist
difference
actions
being
versus being
fascist.
fascist. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Batman would consider himself a fascist, even if he was in our world. I don't think that. I mean, like fascist is a term we kind of throw around. The bigger thing that's important with all this discussion is like comic books reflect the American ideology. Like I think that's something that's always been true. I mean, there's a lot of people who talk about how a lot of comic books characters, including Superman and Captain America, like help propagandize the American empire and that we're the good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, and like Marvel's done a good job with Captain America, both in the movies and
Captain
the comics.
America is not very American half the time.
Not very pro-American throughout the entire series.
Yeah,
since
I'd
like
say
the 80s.
that's kind of the irony of his name.
They've really changed it up to where he's way more of a paladin of the people, like kind of thing. And like he regularly has dropped the stars and like wearing different costumes, called himself a different name.
Yeah.
Like in Civil War, it's all about him being like, I don't like this big government authoritarian thing registering all of the superpower people. Like
Tony Stark did though.
And I mean, like, I would argue that Tony Stark is a worse person than Bruce Wayne if they were real people.
100% a worse person than Bruce Wayne.
Tony Stark like sold weapons to anyone who would buy them.
Bruce,
like that's his origin.
Bruce had R&D, but then I think he got real fucking pissed when I think they sold like a few missiles or something to a country.
Yeah, there's multiple Batman continuities where the Wayne Corp, when he's not paying attention to it, is selling defense contracts, and then he shows up and goes, no,
fuck you. I'm going to take those and put them on the Batmobile. Just to don't tell Lucius Fox.
I think that like, comic books are a reflection of the ideology of America, like I said. And I think that for a long time we thought a billionaire vigilante would be cool. There was this whole idea in the 70s of 80s of like this rising crime that wasn't really true. And that this ideology of like this hope that history was kind of over, this neoliberal idea that like we figured it all out and like soon we're going to technology our way out of all our problems. And I think that, you know, Batman kind of represents that ideology. And that's why you've seen a lot of Batman ideology over the last 20, 30 years start to be about Batman questioning like if he's doing the right thing. Like he's instead of being the solo loner who has one sidekick, like you get the Bat family over the last 30 years, where now Batman essentially has like
a lot 13, of people,
14 people like, who are helping him through.
Batwing, Batwoman, Batgirl, 4 Robins, a son.
And I mean, the ideology is somewhat predicated on the idea that there's good cops, you know, which is hard to do in a modern world.
But then there's every other cop that's bad.
You know,
like,
because I do like that about
versus
Batman.
Harvey,
There are a lot
who's
of corrupt
also
cops.
the Lieutenant Boyle?
Harvey Bullock.
Bullock, thank you. Harvey Bullock is
my Italian dirty cop character is Dick Bullock.
Dick Bullock. Oh, yeah.
He's a combination of Dick Tracy and Harvey Bullock.
Oh, nice. That's good. Yeah, I love Bullock. He's a nice, especially in the animated series.
He's a level 6 fighter, gunslinger.
Nice.
So like everybody else around me is using magic and shit, and I'm just pulling out a
shooting a gun like Percy, shooting people from Vox Machina. One thing too with Batman and just in general these vigilante types, what I notice gets co-opted, and for some reason Superman too, and the Punisher to a kind of obvious extent, but also not. If you read the Punisher, cops love and like in general fashy kind of people love having that emblem on their car or tattooed, like especially Punisher. I mean, Batman,
if you've actually read the Punisher comics,
he hates cops. Punisher hates cops. Like he is not a fan of cops. Like it's kind of like, and that's the thing, like all these people who are these fascists or and racist, if you are racist, if you are a fascist, that's just how that works.
You can be a racist without being a fascist. But you can't be a fascist without being a racist.
So none of them are like another good point. I don't know what Joker where this was, but the Joker was about to kill a guy. A Nazi specifically, and the Nazi's like, wait a minute, what are you doing? I thought you were one of us. I thought he's like, what?
Oh, the Red Skull. It's they're in the Marvel DC crossover.
Oh, that's what it was. He's like, I thought you were one of us, and he's like, I'm not a racist. I'm an equal opportunist. Like I don't hate Jewish
I believe
people.
The exact
what are you
line
about?
The Joker says is, I may be a supervillain, sir, but I'm an American supervillain. It's the exact line the Joker says.
Like it's just like even the Joker's
which
like not on your
Batman.
side.
Like
he's just
if
a
you're
murderer.
gonna be a vigilante, if you're gonna like break the law, if you're gonna like, and the reason I think a lot of cops idealize like Batman and the Punisher is because they do get to beat people up to solve the problems.
And they are wanting,
and that's what the cops want to do.
And that's where like I'm like, because I know there's like not really a push against Batman these days, but it's like we've been talking about, like how he's been more conscious about who he is and what he's doing. Like, because I mean, it's not even, I think it's like, it's just plain and obvious that these people who idolize these people for beating up criminals and become cops and join the military just so they can go shoot somebody that's, that doesn't look like them. These may have contributed, if not actually contributed to like legitimizing these people's anger issues and like, oh yeah, Batman can do it, I can go beat up a criminal, like that fucker who just killed that homeless or unhoused guy on the train in New York, like saying it was in self-defense. And
Go ahead.
Yeah, like the fucker in New York who killed that guy and his head, it was in self-defense. He's now being charged with murder and things like that.
He held someone who was mentally ill on the subway.
Yes, and killed it because the guy was like asking for money and or harassing people or something like that. Regardless,
which is
you don't
not
deserve
worthy
to
of a
die.
death sentence.
Not worthy of a death sentence. Nothing is worthy of a death sentence. By the way, pretty much nothing. I'm going to say, like, maybe, I'm sure there's crimes.
I'm a Nuremberg fan. There's one exception.
Yeah, the Nuremberg trials.
If you join a military in order to try to take over the world as a right-wing fascist, I think that you might need to be hung. But otherwise, I'm anti-death penalty.
God, speaking of that, and not to derail anything,
you need a brickin'. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need a brickin'. That deserves a brickin'. when you do the fascist try to take over the world thing.
Explain that.
A brickin'. It's when you brick someone. You hit them with a brick repeatedly.
Okay. I thought that was a weird German term or something like that. Okay.
No.
You need a brickin'. I'm like, is that a croissant?
I think Robert Evans of Behind the Bastards coined it. That's a brickin'.
Okay. A
like,
brickin'.
That's what you get for
I like that. But yeah, not to derail, go watch the Napoleon trailer if you haven't seen it yet, talking about revolutions and not necessarily good people. That movie looks so amazing. I just saw it earlier before we started, and Ridley Scott, bless you, and Joaquin Phoenix, I guess.
And
like,
with the small Batman link, I'm excited for Oppenheimer. So
I'm buying opening day
American
IMAX
propaganda.
Yeah.
So
like, I can't wait. It's gonna look so cool. Like, apparently you can feel the nuke going off in the IMAX theater. Like,
oh, cool.
Yeah, I know. I just kind of want to fit, like, from a sound design purpose, I really kind of am interested in to see how they, because with Interstellar they did the same thing. But
I have a personal familial guilt, like classic white guilt.
Didn't one of your ancestors like drop one of the bombs? Yeah,
my great grandfather was on the Great Artiste, which escorted the Enola Gay, and he took a lot of the pictures that you see of mushroom clouds.
Jesus Christ,
over
that's
Hiroshima.
Right. Oof,
yeah,
man, yeah.
I mean, his KD count was high for a Turner. I will say he even beats my dad. So his kill to death ratio is huge. So
wow, that
joke did not land well.
I mean, but regardless, it's just crazy that like you had like, I mean, you're great. Every picture we've ever looked at in history class around this thing, like
of Hiroshima. Yeah, I don't think he was on the Nagasaki deployment.
No, yeah, that was two planes. Obviously, they didn't just take one and then keep going.
Well, yeah, it had its escort. Like, so the Enola Gay was the plane that dropped the bomb, but they had escorts, and then they had a scientific craft that the Great Artiste that my great grandfather was
to like
on.
measure the seismology.
He was a gunner, and he was like in the gunner seat, but he had a high-tech camera for the time that he was taking pictures with instead of a gun. They had replaced it with a high-tech camera so that he could get the pictures off. And when they took off, they didn't know if they'd make it. Like, it was very much, will the explosion be so big that the planes will be destroyed?
Oh, so, yeah. Did they not almost have enough fuel too? That was a issue.
I don't know enough about it.
There's horrible events that should never have happened. But
we're digressing.
Yeah.
Batman, I think, is not a fascist. No. Is Batman a conservative wet dream in our actual world? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Now,
I don't think he's a conservative in there, though. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
think.
In DC world, I think that he's a pretty. Like,
he pays taxes.
He's non-ideological.
Yeah, he's not ideological. Sure. Yeah.
I think he thinks that, justice and vengeance are the only, and like Gotham are his only ideology. He wouldn't care who's president. He wouldn't care who's senator. Like, but in that world, that's a privilege that can be afforded, right? In our world, it's not, because in their world, like, the Green Lanterns show up to help stop injustice. Like Superman gets cats out of trees. Like, as opposed to our world where Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
not even that. Like Jackson, was it Jackson, Mississippi? Also is having an issue. Like
Coppell had a water thing recently too, where they
lead pipes still exist. Like, it's a romanticized version of our world that is just, guys, it doesn't exist. There were fake superheroes in Seattle for like a day, if you remember them at all. But it was, I
think, like, it comes back to those people who embrace the Punisher, embrace Batman, that are cops and like killers and shit.
Yeah.
Like, the fact is like, it's very easy to solve, which is to say, yeah, Batman would definitely be a bad person in our world. He's not in his world. And the reason that you shouldn't equate this world to that world is because it's make-believe and made up and for children. Like, I know we're big nerds who like pay $80 to buy a little statue we can put together.
Just watch the new Cthulhu
but
one.
It's supposed to be for kids. Yeah. Like, it's the idea of it is supposed to be a simplified story of right and wrong.
Well, Warner Brothers keeps releasing these R-rated cartoon ones, which the one I just said, no, it was PG-13.
Well, money.
Profit. Like,
the number of millennials they target,
Oh, for sure. But yeah, it is all romanticized. But if you want a real version, if you want to know what superheroes would be like in our world, just watch The Boys. Watch The Boys. Don't read it. It's bad. The comic book version sucks. Yeah. But that is the realistic version. Batman is best friends with Clark Kent. Batman has lots of shit going on for him.
He has an unlimited surveillance system that he destroys.
Yeah, he has a conscience. He has a backup consciousness in case his brain gets taken over.
He does.
That's a fun comic to read.
Colors,
purple and yellow. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so great.
Oh man, really look up.
And he
that
does a bunch of drugs to get into it too. Yeah, man, what a great run! Batman is the best.
Yeah, I love the early thousands and late 90s shit. And the New 52 was pretty good because Batman Beyond got brought into that, or Terry McGinnis did. But
I mean, like, and there's also this thing of like, and this is getting into real nerd shit, like not surface level shit, but like the more you know about Batman, like also he's the one who like has plans to kill all the Justice League because he doesn't trust their power, and like he's the one that like leaves the Justice League multiple times because he's like, y'all are authoritarian bastards.
Yes,
like,
I know they have a space laser. They have a space laser.
Like he's the one who agrees with Ollie when he's like, maybe the government should be watching us, like and like have a check on us. Like, I think that there's a whole. You know, if you get into the minutia of Batman, like he's a good guy in the end, like he's a good person. But the problem is you can't be a good person and be a billionaire or vigilante in the real world.
No, like
you can in DC world.
It's not going to happen.
Not
every billionaire is a sickly old weirdo. I mean, maybe Zuckerberg's pretty jacked. I think that's our best hope is Mark Zuckerberg. So there you go. You might have him be a Blue Beetle. I don't know. Blue Beetle's short, but he's also a child. So I don't know. Like,
I am vengeance. I am the night.
I am the night. And that's too much,
night?
Greg.
No, it's pretty good though. I like Greg and Zuckerberg have a similar energy for sure. like Zuckerberg is definitely Greg if he worked out a lot.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. Like, I just saw Zuck next to two UFC fighters and it was hilarious.
So I stole your company. And, I hope that's
stole
cool.
your platform and did it without your engineers.
Sorry about that. But you know,
fucking with friends.
Rat fucker central.
Rat fucker central. Sorry to the plosive.
The disgusting brothers.
The disgusting brother. Oh God, man, I missed that show. Yeah. So I mean, that's basically it. No, Batman's not a fascist.
Is that billionaires in DC world like literally save the world every other week, and in the real
Except
world,
for one
there's Succession.
Netflix, and
like they're throwing water bottles at each other.
Our billionaires is Succession. Theirs are Oliver Queen, Bruce Wayne, and I don't actually know any other
Tony
billionaires.
Stark.
Tony Stark. Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, like.
Cord, the original Blue Beetle. He's a billionaire. He's dead though.
Hank Pym.
Yeah, all these people, like they're all good people.
Which Hank Pym is a piece of shit even in the comics.
Yeah,
yes. Everybody more so than
that's
Batman.
why
like, Hank Pym is like canonically a wife beater.
Oh, is he? Oh wow.
Yeah, that's why he's not the Ant-Man in the Marvel-verse. Because, and they chose the second Ant-Man from the comics because the first Hank Pym is kicked out of the Avengers for hitting his wife.
Whoa, shit, that's crazy.
Like
I can't believe they actually like wrote that, and then
it was about domestic abuse. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. See, and here I guess that's why Marvel I feel like is a bit better about this shit than to a point.
We're getting less into comics and more, less into politics and more into comics now. But I will say, like, DC writes the best villains that you can identify with, and Marvel writes like the best heroes that are very humanized.
Yes.
Like Marvel villains are rarely humanized, like with the exception being like Killmonger. Like most Marvel villains are Ultron or fucking Thanos. Yeah. Like, oh, this person's just
Kang.
bad. Like they're just evil. Yeah, Kang. Like, but the Marvel heroes are like, oh, Tony's an alcoholic. Like that's something he actually has to deal with. Like Hank Pym, hit his wife.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of Marvel heroes that like Captain America struggles with his patriotism and his nationalism. Like, as opposed to DC where the heroes are good and bad. No humanity to them at all. But
the stories are good. So,
but the villains are super complex in DC.
Yes,
You have Mr. Freeze. You have a Brainiac who winds up by his 9th version being like one of the best heroes 2,000 years in the future.
Yeah.
You have a Lex Luthor who is not wrong, but it's definitely bad.
I struggle with Lex Luthor a lot.
Like I definitely think we should have a plan to get rid of Superman just in case. He seems like he could really.
It seems like a bad idea, but also I want to destroy the city I live in, but not. I'm kind of confused.
Another exception in Marvel though, Doom is very much like a great villain because like all his people love him in his rebranding since the 80s. Like the people of his nation, like. Have free healthcare. It's advanced. It's like a second Wakanda. Like,
yep.
Like they're all loyal to him. Like his minions aren't people who are just paid well. Like they're loyal people because they're like, this guy saved our country after the Avengers wrecked it. Like, and he's just an authoritarian who hates Reed Richards. Like, the problem is, if he wasn't obsessed with Reed Richards, he could be the greatest hero of them all, because he's Doom. He's inevitable. But yeah, I mean, like, to kind of wrap it up, like, whether it's Batman or it's the Punisher, like, do I think these people are fascists? No, because I think a lot of their writers were poor, like, artistic, creative writers. Some of them gay, some of the LGBT community, some of them Jewish, like, during the 40s and 50s. Like, I think that a lot of these heroes reflect the people that wrote them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I think that there was a lot of pride in American, you know, in industry and like capitalism and the empire. And over the last 30, 40 years, the base of viewers for those comics have changed those ideologies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And thus we're grappling with a bunch of these superheroes. What do they mean? Mm-hmm. What do we need to change about them to reflect the modern version of us? And slowly but surely, that's just happening through culture.
Yeah.
But I like, is Batman a fascist?
No.
In our world, yes.
Yes.
In his world,
yeah. Fascist action's not a fascist in our world. Again, he's not a racist. So
that's true. I don't think like Bruce Wayne would be like,
he would.
Yeah,
he's
like,
just doing.
I want a white
like,
nationalist ethno state.
Yeah, no, that's impossible. That's not impossible, but yeah. So yeah, Bruce, if you're listening, come on the show, and if you're real, also let us know. And that's it. Batman's not a fascist. Superman, no, not a fascist either.
No, Superman's a decent dude.
Decent.
If you write Superman right, Superman's
don't kill
awesome.
his wife, and he's fine.
Yeah,
I guess.
As long as you don't kill Lois.
Just don't kill Lois Lane, and you're pretty much
yeah. As a fun little tidbit to end us off here, fun little story about Andrew as a kid. I used to annoy both neighbors and family members by like knocking on the door and telling them that like the penguin was loose. Like my neighbors, and I used to like
amazing.
Stop. And you won't know what this is, audience, because you're all younger than us. But like, there were things called payphones because people didn't have cell phones. So I would have to stop and talk to Commissioner Gordon whenever I saw a payphone and like get an update on what was going on in Gotham. I just hold up my whole family for a solid 5 minutes while I talk to no one on the phone. So.
Oh man, maybe he's real. If we could have more cops like Commissioner Gordon, life would
I don't know. I don't think it's worth having Batman be real when we get a Joker. Like the man gasses like Boy Scout troops.
If the trade-off is the Joker, then no. So I guess not. Batman, please stay make believe. And that's it. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. Good night.
Bye.
You've been listening to America the Conversation, a production of Shway Media and America the Podcast Presents. The show was created and is hosted by Tim Phillippe and Andrew Turner. The show's theme song is by Timmy Two Step, and all other music and sounds heard in this show were procured through the amazing companies listed in our show notes. America the Conversation is mixed and edited by Tim Phillippe at Shway Media Studios in Austin, Texas. For more information, please visit shwaymedia.com. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.
This has been a production of Shway Media, all rights reserved. For more information, please visit shwaymedia.com.